So good morning, Gladiators and guests. Thank you for attending this year's Suicide Awareness Prevention and Wing Support event. This is our first annual event, and we look forward to many more collaborative events in the near future. It is important to know that this event was developed and tailored for all of you Gladiators. It is meant to be both informational and impactful. Hopefully you'll gain enough knowledge to help save a life through preventative measures. This meeting will be recorded and available to those through SharePoint. I'm going to start this meeting off with the Zoom poll. The Zoom poll is 100% anonymous, so please answer the question that's on the screen. How many people here have been impacted by suicide, whether it be a family member, friend, or even yourself? So I'm going to leave this up for a few minutes to allow everyone time to respond. So currently we're about at 86%, gone down to about 75%. So a few more seconds and I'll leave this poll up. So if you haven't responded, please do so. Alrighty, so looks like we have about 75% of us here have been impacted by suicide. So the results are pretty concerning, right? 75% of us have had some effect or felt the effects of suicide. So hopefully through today's presentation and our continued prevention efforts, we can significantly decrease that number in the future. So we'll begin today with introductions for our presenters that will be discussing valuable and life-saving measures for all those in our wing. But first of all, I'd like to introduce our leader of the Gladiators, the 960th Cyberspace Wing Commander, Colonel Rick Erridge.
Hey, good morning. This is new for Casey and I sharing this together too. So working out the kinks here. So thanks for joining us. We have a really esteemed group of people here that are well qualified to talk about suicide. And this is going to be a great opportunity for us to share this electronically and make sure it's available for everybody to watch too. So really appreciate all your time and effort for this. And Captain G, we keep seeing your fingers show up in the video. So are you trying to, you're not trying to tell us anything, are you?
I can't even figure out how to unmute it, but I did.
You're fine, we hear you.
I can hear you all, that's the important part.
Yeah, so September is obviously Suicide Prevention Month, and we want to take this time to really focus on people and those things that are available to people to use and when they need it, and that they understand what's available to them and all the resources available. And, you know, so many of us have had interactions with either people or personal experiences that we can share and we can learn from. So it's exciting. We got a great group here to kind of tell us all about that, and we're focusing this under the priority of taking care of airmen and their families. So it nests in really nice with what we're doing priority-wise and taking care of our people. And I look forward to the discussion and hopefully we get some good feedback from folks on how we can maybe do things better, or some experiences how we can keep connected with all of our airmen to make sure they're getting what they need and trust the system and the people in order to ask for help when they need it. So I'll turn it back over to you, Frances. Thanks again for moderating and for facilitating and for starting the effort.
Thank you, Colonel Erich.
Thanks.
So there are several key speakers today. I'm Frances Martinez, LCSW, and the Director of Psychological Health. I'll be discussing the new mental health initiative for the 960th Cyberspace Wing, Gladiators Saving Gladiators. We have Sharon Esters, LPC, from the Military and Family Life Counselor Group from JBSA Lackland. We'll be presenting on what you need to know about crisis ideation and suicide. We have Master Sergeant Sonny Maldonado, NCOIC, from the 433rd Airlift Wing, Airmen and Family Readiness Center, and he'll be discussing physical and social supports. Resiliency and chaplain services will be reviewed by Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Nicholson, Wing Chaplain for the 433rd Airlift Wing. Finally, Casey Erich will be briefing on the importance of the Key Spouse Network. So today's format will be in the presentation format and will be broken down by presenters. After each presenter, there'll be a Q&A section for that person. So we would ask that you wait until each presentation is completed to ask questions, so we remain within our time constraints. So, Gladiators Saving Gladiators. What does this mean and why are we focusing on this? So hopefully it means that you will be able to recognize signs, have the courage to stand up and say something in order to help your fellow gladiators. So what is this initiative, Gladiators Saving Gladiators? As we discuss mental health in America, we're looking at the greater picture, right? However, when we look at mental health in the military, we see it through a different lens. We have different stigmas, different fears, different effects with military work and clearances. Nevertheless, we're all still human beings that need to ensure that we have the healthy and balance in our lives to be successful. So the bottom line for the Gladiators Saving Gladiators initiative is to save lives. Yes, the goal is to, the goal of the mission is to save lives. Some of you may look puzzled and may think, how can I possibly save a life? I'm not in law enforcement, a doctor or a nurse. So how can I possibly save a life? You can save a life. You can save someone from taking their own life. And you can do this through awareness plus involvement, which equals prevention. You might be aware of Sergeant Doe going through some rough times, but if you're not involved, then you won't have those prevention measures in place, right? So the formula should be followed. Awareness plus involvement equals prevention. So who's responsible for all of this? Is it just me as a DPH? Is it 960th leadership? No, it's everyone. Everyone is responsible for helping others. Here's a quote that I've seen many times before. Unfortunately, I don't know who the author is, but it's a pretty great quote. So helping one person might not change the whole world, but it can change the world for that one person. Sometimes you do something so impactful in someone's life and you don't even know it. A simple smile, a simple call, or a text can really change someone's day or thought. So remember to always be kind and to be your best self. It could really impact someone's life. Everyone is responsible for holding others accountable. This is a big one, right? Because if you see something but don't say anything, are you just as guilty as doing it yourself? But if you hold others accountable for their actions, like stepping in when another is being rude to a coworker, hazing or bullying, or any of those things that are turned off, then are we really being good gladiators? But stepping in and holding others accountable, we can assure that we are being good gladiators. So why do we need this initiative? Did you know that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the US? We're going to look at 2018 data since 2019 data has not been published as of today. So in 2018, there were 48,344 Americans that died by suicide. That may not seem like a huge number to some because of our national population. However, anything over 0 is too much. There were 1.4 million suicide attempts. So now we're looking at a bigger number, 1.4 million. I don't want to imagine if those attempts were actually successful. Also, we're only looking at reported numbers, right? So many people have made attempts, yet no one knows, or they didn't receive medical attention. With that in mind, we know that the number of attempts is far more than 1.4 million. The statistics show that middle-aged white men had the highest rate of suicide, and men died by suicide 3.56 times more often than women. Approximately 132 people died of suicide every day, which is about 5.5 an hour. White males accounted for nearly 70% of all suicides in 2018, and 50% of those deaths by suicide were by self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Again, these numbers are a representation of the entire US. So now we're going to look at the suicide rates in the Air Force alone. 2019 had the highest suicide rate in the history of the Air Force, a total of 137 suicides. There was a significant increase by 33% from 2018 to 2019, and 2020 is on track to meet or even exceed 2019's numbers. This, again, is why we need to have this initiative, which requires the push for suicide prevention training. So here it is. Here we are looking at the representation of the 137 US Air Force deaths by suicide last year. I know it's hard to look at a screen and see that there is nothing personable about it. Again, just numbers on a screen. However, we're gonna take a minute and have a moment of silence for our 137 brothers and sisters that took their life last year. Now we're going to take it personal. I want to share this tidbit with you. Kevin Hines has an extraordinary story, and I hope in the future we can have an event to show his film, The Ripple Effect. But for now, I want to make suicide more personable for you.
You know, I've gone through a lot in my life, and the struggles continue every day. But what brought me, in my opinion, to the Golden Gate Bridge on September 25th, 2000, it wasn't because of a death in the family. It wasn't because of a breakup with my most recent girlfriend, both of which had just happened. People say, you know, the person died by suicide because their girlfriend broke up with them, because they lost their job, because they lost a family member. That's not how it works. I was at the Golden Gate Bridge in so much mental, emotional, and physical pain because of my brain disease bipolar disorder. I could see no other option. I never wanted to die. I believed I had to. I believed there wasn't a shadow of doubt in my mind that I had no other course to take. So I went to that bridge. My father thought I was at school at City College. After dropping me off there that morning, after trying to reach me and saying, Kevin, why don't you come to work with me today? Come to the movies, we'll go to the beach. And I lied to my dad because I was so content with the fact that I had to die because of the voices in my head and the pain I was experiencing. That's the common denominator of suicidal people. An epic amount of pain that you can't describe to anyone, and you think no one will understand, and you think you're alone. I wasn't alone. I was surrounded by a sea of people, but I thought I was an island. And I thought nobody else understood this. Nobody empathized with it. I was brought to that bridge because of my brain. And I remember going over that rail. I remember having an instant regret. 36 people have survived that fall. Of the well over 2,000 that have died, that's a 2% survival rate. Less than 5 have regained full mobility. I'm one of those 5. The climate of our nation, as it relates to brain health and mental and behavioral health, is at a precipice of change. More people than ever before are reporting on suicide prevention matters and mental health in America. In that same token, more people are inaccurately reporting it. So it's a time now when state by state has to step it up for that training to occur, and hell, to mandate that change. Even for the people who say, I don't want to do that. I know suicide prevention. I know how to take care of someone who's mentally unstable. No, you don't, because you haven't learned the tools, tips, and programs that actually are proven to save lives, to lower costs, and to help people heal. Because we're never going to change a generation until the generations that are coming up know what to look for and how to get that person to safety.
So I know you may think, well, he's bipolar and he has mental health issues, so that can't happen to me. But I want to take it a bit deeper for a minute. So hitting closer to home, retired Colonel Robert Swanson had an amazing career in the military. He's also had 2 suicidal attempts while on active duty. The point is, suicide does not discriminate. It doesn't care if you're white, African American, Hispanic, Asian, male, female, LGBTQ, straight. It can happen to anyone. In an interview, Colonel Swanson reported that his bull was that I thought I was smarter than everyone else. Nothing could change me. I didn't need help. I didn't need to let my guard down. I knew what I needed to do. That arrogance almost cost me my life twice. And some people won't understand, like, seriously, you're going to kill yourself over school? A few of his key points, this can happen to anybody. It always gets better. Don't get stuck in the moment. Tools are available that help people not only survive, but thrive. Get help, then address career concerns. It takes work to get back on track, but with support of family, friends, and coworkers, you can do so. And look for signs that someone is in trouble, but realize some people are very good at masking their depression and pain. Still, people who are experiencing life challenges like divorce or family issues, or are exhibiting certain behaviors like drug or alcohol abuse and are isolating themselves, may be at risk. So attached in this PowerPoint are his documented stories. So I encourage everyone to read those at a later time. I had the luxury of speaking to Colonel Swanson last week in a podcast interview that will be released for the wing, and I hope that it reaches all of you gladiators and his words touch you as it did with me. So our goal as a nation is 0 suicide. Our goal in the Air Force is 0 suicide. We are far from that goal, but everyone can play a role in bringing the numbers down. So gladiators, I'm asking that all of you be a hero. You won't find this anywhere else. It was created just for you. Be a hero. Be helpful towards others seeking your support and assistance. Show empathy towards those entrusting you with their lives. Be responsible and provide appropriate resources that will be discussed later in this presentation. And remain observant of what's happening around you. You may be the key to saving a life. So see something, say something. So how can I help you? As your new DPH, I have an open door policy. So please come and meet with me, call, text, email, and I'll be there to help you with anything I can. If I'm not the right person, I promise you, we will work together to get you the right person or available resources. I'm available to everyone in the wing, not just for service members. I'm available to families, civilians, contractors. I'm a licensed mental health professional provider that will meet with you confidentially and with a limited number of undocumented sessions. My goal is to meet the needs of the wing through your feedback. So fill out those happy or not questionnaires because we're listening. Based on the information and feedback I receive from you, I'll be able to develop programs and training to meet the needs of you gladiators. I do serve as a mental health advisor to Colonel Erridge and the group of commanders in the wing, and we can address concerns in the wing head on. One of our missions is to build resiliency, and I'm here to help you bounce back from any struggles that you are facing. Finally, the Sword and Shield podcast will be used as a medium to get the word out there about mental health issues and other related topics in our wing. Thank you for all of what you're doing, and I hope I can serve you the way that you serve our nation. So any questions for me? If you do, just please unmute yourself.
Hi, Frances. It's Kristen Christie from Colorado Springs. How are ya?
Good. How are you, Kristen? Thank you for joining us today.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for the whole team putting this together. Are you available on UTA weekends then for the
Yes.
wing? Okay, great. And you had said not just the reservists, but also the civilians. What about family members?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Hey, Ms. Martinez, this is Colonel Estlund. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, first, thanks and welcome to the wing, and appreciate you putting this on. For the groups, you know, we have several units that are geographically separated. So
I'm aware.
So just curious about what are you thinking as far as being able to reach out and support those geographically separated units? Over.
So my initial, I've been meeting with some of the group commanders. So if I haven't had a time, I'll schedule one with you. That way we can really discuss what the needs are in your squadron, and then we can address those. You know, once COVID is, you know, hopefully over with, I'll be able to meet you guys in person, you know, visiting you guys on site. So that's my ultimate goal, but for now, it's, you know, we're going to have some Teams meetings or conference calls. But if you have any emergencies, please reach out to me. We can definitely address those.
Great. Well, thanks. Appreciate it, and look forward to introducing you to my squadrons. Over.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Okay, I'd like to welcome Sharon Esters, LPC from JBSA Lackland Military and Family Life Counselor Office.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today, and we're going to start off first with just giving you some brief definitions. The first slide we're going to talk about is about crisis. Next slide. A crisis is a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger. A time in a person's difficult. A time of intense troubles or dangers a person may be having at one point in their life. An example of that would be COVID-19, the protests we've had for this year, weather disasters, being quarantined, and financial difficulties. All of these have had a profound impact on our lives, but for some people it's been worse than others. When you talk about ideations, this is the formation of ideas or concepts. In other words, ideations are about your thoughts. Our thoughts affect our perspective and how we view ourselves, people, and the world around us. Suicide is the act of taking a person taking their own life. Slide 2. When a crisis becomes more than an event, Sometimes a crisis can be so overwhelming, it can cause an individual to move toward more maladaptive behavior. In other words, behaving in a way that they would not normally behave. During a crisis event, people may demonstrate impulsive behavior without thinking about the consequences of their actions. Sometimes people do things out of sheer desperation, whether they're in pain or they're frustrated. Crisis or stressful situations can lead to a variety of negative thoughts and emotions such as anxiety, hopelessness, fear, rage, depression, and irritability. Next slide, please. So now we're going to talk about crisis intervention and management. A crisis intervention is an immediate and short-term emergency response to mental, emotional, physical, and behavioral distress. Crisis interventions help to restore individuals' equilibrium to their biopsychosocial functioning and minimize the potential for short-term distress. The first thing in the process of crisis intervention is you want to identify what's causing the crisis. For example, let's just say your kids have been home, they've been quarantined for a while, and all of a sudden they start fighting each other and cussing and fussing and pulling out each other's hair more often than normal. And you're like, what's going on? Is there something in the water? What could be happening that my kids are acting out like this? Well, you have to identify what the crisis could be, or what the situation. And the situation could be these kids have been cooped up all this time by themselves for 2 months without being able to be without being around their friends. So yeah, they're kind of antsy and they're agitated. So once you're able to identify the crisis situation, then you can move forward toward the next step. The next step is very important. You have to identify the people, places, and things that are at your disposal for a time of crisis. For example, people, these are individuals you call your support system. They can be family members, they can be friends, they can be teachers or counselors. Places, where do you go in a time for a crisis? Some people may go to church, they have support group meetings, or even they go into a behavioral health hospital if necessary. And things. What are things you do to help you during a crisis situation? For example, when I feel depressed, when I feel upset or angry, I use my coping skills to help me through my crisis. When I feel overwhelmed, I'll listen to some jazz music to help me calm my nerves. If I feel depressed, I'll go exercise or watch TV, looking at something funny to help me feel better. So those are some things that you can do. Remember in crisis intervention, remember the people, places, and things that can help you through this situation. Next, we're going to talk about mental health. Now, crisis can lead to a decline in mental health. But an individual who struggles with a mental health disorder, such as depression, bipolar, or schizophrenia, may be more susceptible to having suicidal ideations than someone who's simply going through a crisis situation. So there are two types of suicidal ideations we need to be mindful of. First is passive ideations. These are when people are thinking about killing themselves, but they don't actually put it into action. The second one is active suicidal ideations. These are individuals who not only think it, but they're actually putting those thoughts into actions. Please, please, please don't take passive ideation lightly. Even if you have heard someone say, I'm just going to kill myself, and they don't act, that does not mean it will never happen. So please, anytime you think someone is making suicidal threats, this is a mental issue and that they need to have some help. Okay, know when treatment is necessary. If you or an individual you know struggling with suicidal thoughts, I encourage you to seek help. It is not just about having happy thoughts. It's about overcoming feelings of hopelessness, severe depression, and helplessness. In addition to seeking support from your support system, you can also pursue additional help at a behavioral hospital. A behavioral hospital has an inpatient and outpatient treatment. Outpatient treatment is when a person goes to counseling, group therapy, couples counseling, or family counseling. Inpatient is a little bit more intense, where these individuals are hospitalized for a certain period of time in order to address their suicidal ideations. Now, most people think they're crazy. Anytime you start talking about, oh, I need you to go to a mental hospital for help, some people think that they're crazy. But the way I look at it is I try to explain it like, if you have a computer, every once in a while, your computer will get stuck. You can hit Control Alt to delete to try to get it from being unstuck. But there just sometimes you just have to unplug it from a wall so that it can get a complete reboot. Well, sometimes our emotions and our minds are like that. Sometimes we need to separate from society in order to get a reboot, to help us get away from the stresses out in society, in order to help us gather our thoughts together, settle our emotions, and get some counseling that we need. So that's really what a behavioral health hospital is. When things become too much, it's just your opportunity to regroup. Okay, so next we're going to talk about, what do I do if someone becomes suicidal? One of the things you want to do is you want to stay calm and speak in a reassuring tone. I know this may be scary, but try not to panic. Start by asking questions. The first step is to find out whether the person is in danger of acting on their suicidal feelings. In other words, do they have any access to weapons or pills? The sooner you can find this information out, then you might be able to, while you're talking to them on the phone, you might have someone else call 911 to get to their location if you're not in the same place that they are. Acknowledge their feelings are legitimate. Do not be patronizing or judgmental. This is not a time for tough love. The last thing a person needs is to be humiliated because they are going through a moment of weakness. Offer support and encouragement. Tell them things like, you're going to make it through this. We're in this things together. Because a lot of times, just your presence, just them knowing that you're there can really help change their mind and give them a reason to hold on and to live. Finally, encourage the person to seek professional help. We're going to talk about some warning signs. Very important. Putting their affairs, sometimes when people become suicidal, they put their affairs in order and start giving away things that are important. I mean, even if it's small things, it may be something small, but it could be important. I had a client one time, he wasn't mine, but he was in our facility, and his roommate was telling me how he was giving his food stamp card away. And on the food stamp card, he had like $300 on there. And his friend didn't think nothing of it, but over a period of time, the individual had committed suicide, and he was be able, his friend was be able to begin to see the little bitty things that happened, how he was giving some important things away as a sign, but no one was really paying attention to it at that time. Avoiding social interactions with people. Start watching to see if they are isolating themselves from others. It's okay to be alone, but being alone too much is not healthy. Talking about feelings of hopelessness, trapped, or alone. Saying they have no reason to go on for living. Saying goodbye to friends and families. Having a mood shift from despair to calm. And that's very tricky because sometimes people they'll go through this period where they seem to be very down, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, I'm having a great day, and everything is fine. But you want to watch their mood shifts because sometimes they can be fooling you to make you think that everything's okay, when in actuality they're on the slope to committing suicide. Be mindful of these warning signs. Be active and persistent in helping them. And after helping someone during a mental health crisis, be aware of how you may have been affected emotionally and seek necessary help for yourself. The next slide talks about myths and suicide. I'm not going to really deal with that too much. It talks about there are talkers and doers. Most people who have been talking about suicide over a period of time, they have given some type of example of some type of intent that they wanted to have or that they wanted to hurt themselves. Sometimes we just miss those little signs and signals. I'm going to go to the summary. In summary, how to recognize a mental health crisis is what we've discussed. Know the warning signs of escalation. Take all signs of suicidal or suicidal ideation seriously. Do not agree to keep secrets and know your limitations. Know your boundary lines. Know when, where, and how to seek professional help. Practice self-awareness and self-care. In conclusion, you do not have to be in a crisis to seek help. If you struggle with suicidal ideations, there is nothing to be ashamed of. Society may tell you that you are weak for having suicidal ideations or even asking for help. This is not true. The only thing that is wrong is that we are all human beings that struggle with different weaknesses in our lives. Suicidal ideations affect everyone, regardless of your profession, race, religion, socioeconomic status, or gender. If you need help, pick up a phone, call someone. You are not alone. We are here to help you. So again, we are part of Flag, our hours. If you wanted to talk to me and my coworker Henry Randolph, we are available for you. Unfortunately, if you're struggling with suicidal ideations, we are not able to help you on that. We will just refer you out to someone else to help you. However, if you are struggling with issues of hopelessness, anxiety, or depression, you can call us at the numbers listed on the slide. Mine is 210-238-5528, and Henry is 210-984-1076. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. We're going to open it up to any questions at this time.
Frances, I had a question with regard to like linking with all of the members within the wing. Does your role have something to where there is kind of a, hey, one-on-one kind of introductions with everyone?
Yes, so as far as the groups go, I have began to meet with them. So hopefully I can, reach further down to everyone in the group settings on a one-on-one basis.
Got it.
Rachel? For those, because we have many geographically separated units here, for those folks that are not at Lackland, how can they reach, can you tell them how they can reach the MFLACs at their local unit?
Sharon, I think that was for you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Sharon. Yes, I saw Rachel on your name there, and I called you Rachel instead of Sharon. I'm sorry.
Military One is a one good resource, but you can always call Henry or I, and we'll be able to identify specifically where the individual is as far as where they need help and get them to the right inflect in their area.
There's also a comment in a question in the chat, Francis. What is the best way to help someone who expresses thoughts of suicidal ideation but is very reluctant to seek help? So either Sharon or Francis.
Okay, well, I would definitely say, in order to, first thing you want to do is try to get them one-on-one, to feel very comfortable with you in order to talk to them. The one thing you want them to do is to let them know that it is okay for them to talk about how they're feeling. Sometimes you may want to be an assistant, like if you have a counselor, you may be willing to go with them to sit down and talk to someone, so that they don't feel alone in the process of talking about how they feel. Francis, you have any suggestions?
So definitely if someone is reluctant to seek help, I've come from a inpatient psychiatric background. So most of the people there, they don't want help, right? So they don't want to feel forced to get help. However, sometimes we have to push the envelope a little bit to get them help. And locally to San Antonio, you can contact 911 and they have mental health police officers and Bexar County mental health officers that can help getting that help for those people. Unfortunately, it's an involuntary status and we don't like to have to do that, but sometimes, if it's between life and death, we have to really, push it a little bit further and get that help that's really needed. And bear with me, I lost the PowerPoint, so give me just a second, guys. Technical difficulties.
It's fine.
Add any brightness?
Well, while you're doing that, Francis, I don't know if everybody's got their chat up, but Kristen had just mentioned that there is a new 3-digit fast number, 988, that's being voted on in the House to be a mental health crisis line to be activated in the summer of 2021. So similar to a 911 thing where if you're having a crisis, you can just call this 988 number. So hopefully that is something that goes through.
Do I put this tidbit on Facebook if I record it?
Sure, if you want.
Readiness of services we have for suicide prevention awareness.
If you want to.
Sure.
Okay, so now we're going to welcome Master Sergeant Sonny Maldonado. He's the NCOIC from the 433rd Airlift Wing Airmen and Family Readiness Center.
All right, thank you, Ms. Martinez, and thank you to yourself and Colonel Erich for having us and being a part of this. It's definitely a pleasure to go ahead and help your wing out, especially with us definitely being in touch with throughout the TAP program. So my name is, as Ms. Martinez said, my name is Master Sergeant Maldonado. We are here at the 433rd Airmen and Family Readiness. For those on Lackland, if you know where the ID section is, building 909, we are in the same building, room 32. Otherwise, you can definitely either reach us by email. Throughout the week, I am on order, so you either reach myself and or our director, Ms. Leticia Gonzalez, and I can post her information and my contact information in the chat if you ever need to get a hold of us. Or if you're located on a different installation and need to get help identifying who your local Airmen and Family Readiness is, or are rather, then we can definitely help you with that as well. But nonetheless, since we do go ahead and work with you guys, we definitely want to make sure that we are your main go-to Airmen and Family Readiness if need be, and do not hesitate to go ahead and give us a call. So this is kind of a one-pager as far as my presentation goes, but I definitely wanted to go ahead and take it from a wingman and leadership's perspective. It's kind of a challenge for us when looking at our members because we do go through suicide prevention training. And so our members, or those who are in need of help, tend to think that they know how to go ahead and hide those signs because of the training that we take. So it's going to take a little bit more work for us as wingmen and leaders to go ahead and identify and know our troops. So from a leadership perspective and coming from the Office of Airman Family Readiness, we encourage you to go ahead and get to know your folks, get to know their normal patterns, get to know their behaviors, because you do work with them on, say, either a monthly basis or maybe on a daily basis. And you get to learn their patterns of behavior and may be able to recognize something that isn't just right. So we definitely encourage you to at least, and if you don't work with them daily, at least try to keep keep in touch with them maybe once a week, just to check how they're doing, because sometimes they definitely may feel a little ostracized only coming in once a month if they're traditional reservists. So I challenge you to do that as a wingman and as the leader, despite your ranks, we're all leaders here, to go ahead and take that challenge and reach out to them once a month just to see how they're doing, once a week, try to see how they're doing. The next thing I want to go ahead and discuss is the list of physical and social support avenues that are available to you. There are various reasons why individuals may be concerned or struggling and may be thinking about suicide as an only outlet for their troubles. So we're going to go over a list of resources that we have here to include ourselves and MFLAC that are available to you and your members for any reason or any concern that they're having that they think they need assistance with, or you may think they need assistance with. Okay, so the first one on top you'll see there is the Suicide Prevention Hotline. That is a number that is highly unutilized. When I say highly unutilized, they don't get more calls than what they should, especially with us being in the military. And the slide that Ms. Martinez presented earlier, you can see that, we lose members almost, every minute. So if you feel that you're in that seat to help, or if it's maybe something you're struggling with internally as well, do not hesitate to give them a call. They answer immediately. It's all confidential, and they will get you taken care of. The next one, this is a big one that we use because we work with them on a daily basis as well, is Military One Source. The great thing about Military One Source is twofold. One, you get 12 free sessions per whatever predicament that you need assistance with. So it doesn't have to necessarily mean, you're struggling with suicide. Maybe you're having your family member is, and you're not really sure how to help them. They can help them as well. And you can go with, family counseling with all of y'all included for one session, and then they can go to their separate ones, and you can have your separate one as well. So 12 free sessions per any issue that you're having. The good thing is once you call them, it takes about 2 rings and you speak with a live person. They go ahead and set up a quick profile for you, and then wherever you're located, they'll find the most certified professional to help you out. And again, all you have to do is call, set up the appointments, and they will get the funding take care of for you. So I encourage you to go ahead and utilize the Military One Source and use it as often as you need to. If you're having or someone that's having issues with employment assistance, and maybe that's kind of bringing them down, I definitely recommend Employee Assistance Program. What they do is they help with setting up with resumes. They help with interview coaching. They help with job searching techniques. We do it as well here in our office. I specifically do it myself. So if you want to do it more locally and internally, do not hesitate to give me a call. Otherwise, I encourage you to call them as well if it's in that realm and they're needing assistance and maybe trying to find employment. Of course, there's mental health. On this slide, it does say active duty, but they are open to all type of military members as well. They are located over there at Wilford Hall, and I encourage you to use them as well. A lot of people think that there's a negative stigma with mental health. They are just there to help everyone else, just like we are. So use them if you're not really wanting to go towards an outside resource. And again, it is confidential, and they will help our members get to where they need to be. There is a chaplain corps. This number here is for the active duty center as well. We'd like to give out the active duty center just because our chaplains are traditional reservists, so they'll be the ones that will be able to go ahead and assist immediately. If it's alcohol or drug related, there is ADAPT. We do have our own ADAP prevention here on Lackland, or I'm sorry, with the 433rd. So we can get you in touch with them. But if it's during the week and they're not available, then there's the active duty side as well. And then we like to give you the Lackland, for those who are on Lackland, the Lackland Active Duty Airmen and Family Readiness. We work in tandem with them. There's a lot of resources that they have that we're limited to being a reserves family readiness center. So we will like to give our members their number as well. They do have MFLAC there. They do have life coaches available, so we can get you set up with them, and you don't have to be on orders to go ahead and seek help. Of course, there is our contact information right there. Again, during the week, either get in touch with myself or Ms. Gonzalez, our director, and we will drop everything to help you guys out. We are also underutilized as well. Come pay us a visit if you would like to do it more in person. We're a staff of, to include myself, about 3 more Airmen and Family Readiness technicians. All 3 of us are qualified to go and assist you and your folks, so do not hesitate to give us a call. If it's family related, maybe it's domestic abuse, or maybe it's something with childcare or whatnot, you can see you do have family advocacy resources available to you from an on-base perspective. But we also have outside of agencies that go ahead and assist as well. Again, if you're within Bexar County, we have a lot of resources such as Salvation Army, battered women shelters that we work with as well to help folks. And then, of course, just to kind of touch point on what the Military and Family Life Counselor just spoke of previously, there is children and youth behavior assistance as well. Any general counseling that you may need. The difference between MFLAC and Military One Source is that Military or MFLAC is available on base. So again, if you're more comfortable sticking with on base and the resources on base, they can help you on installation. If it's financial related, we do have a financial counselor that is directly assigned to the 433rd and the 960th. That is Ms. Jeremy Chavez. She is a certified financial representative, former tax collector, former veteran, so she knows our struggle as well. She is available virtually at any time. Feel free to shoot her a text or give her a call, and she can help set you a budget or create a financial plan that'll help your members if it's something that's ailing them financially and they need assistance with that. She does also give monthly briefings every UTA, so I encourage your folks to kind of warm up to her and see what she has to say on there, and they can get a little bit of a sense of comfortness and then engage her from there. Of course, there is a SARC. We do have SARC representatives here at the 433rd 960th. However, if you're in between UTAs, that number is for the active duty installation. And again, if you're not located on Lackland, give us a call and we can find the SARC that's near you. And last but not least, there is the United Way. This is another underutilized resource. Once you call 211, their dispatch will go and locate where you are, whether it's here on Lackland or if you're located, say, at Pearson, and they will find local resources for you. So you're not alone. You don't have to figure this out by yourself, whether you're needing help yourself, or if you're trying to find help for your troops or your friends or coworkers or even family members. Utilize us. We're here for you. We're here to help. There isn't a question that we will not assist you with. Worst case scenario, if we don't have the answer, we will go ahead and stay with you until we get that right individual involved. That's, for the most part, the information that I wanted to go ahead and share with you. And again, I thank you for letting me be a part of it. And I thank you, Ms. Martinez, for including me and letting me assist you with this briefing today.
Thank you, Master Sergeant Maldonado. So we're going to open up for any questions for him at this time. So if you have any questions, just remember to unmute yourself. Quiet room. Alrighty, so I'd like to introduce our wing chaplain, Lieutenant Colonel Ted Nicholson from the 433rd Airlift Wing.
Good morning, everybody. Or if you're in the East time code, well, it's still morning for about 4 more minutes. So it's good to see all of y'all, and I hope that so far in this presentation, you'll be getting a lot of information, and it's all good stuff. But let's take a little bit of a turn in the discussion here. And what I want to bring up is the Air Force Instruction 90-5001 talks about resilience in the comprehensive airman fitness. And it talks about the four pillars of which makes up every individual. And that is the different parts of you, whether it's spiritual, physical, mental, or social. And as you can see like this, you can have a very strong building when you have all four pillars strong. If one of them starts to crack a little, your health goes down. Your ability to be resilient is going to be okay for a while, but if it ever fails, your entire resilience can fail too, because it's all part of who you are. So when you see one of them starting to crack, you need to be taking care. You have to know yourself, because no one else knows you as good as you do. And so you need to be able to tell the signs. Everybody knows when they have a bellyache, because it hurts and it doesn't, you don't want to do anything when you're in that condition, right? So it affects your mental condition and maybe even your spiritual and your social. You don't want to go out and do anything because your stomach hurts. So that's the idea here, is that, yeah, you can be strong for a while, but if one of them starts to crack, if you're strong in all four of them, it'll be good for a little while, but you have to get back to work and fixing that part of you, while the other parts keep you strong. So let's go to the next slide too. And that shows you that, like I just mentioned, that if you have a bellyache, your physical body hurts, you really don't want to go out and do something, because it affects the part of who you are. And that's why in your mental well-being can go down, your spiritual well-being can go down, your social can go down if part of your body starts to break down. But the good news is that the resilience is also there too, because if you're strong in one, it'll help you build who you are in the other parts of who you are. Let's go to the next slide. And if you can look in the four columns here, you can see what is it about who we are, and how do they categorize each part of the four pillars. You can see that there. What I want to talk to you about is about the spiritual part of who you are, and what chaplains do in part of that. So let's go to the next slide. There are two core competencies when it comes to chaplains. The first one is spiritual care, and the other one is advice to leadership. Just so that you know that our most important thing that we can do, that we see the best results in, is completely confidential counseling. And as I talk to our newcomers, I say, I want to test your capability of understanding the English language. What do you understand about completely confidential? If you have done something in your past, can you talk to the chaplain and still keep the confidentiality? The answer is yes. What if you are currently engaged in an illegal activity? Can you talk to the chaplain and still stay confidential? Well, what does the word completely mean? It means, yes, that is also covered. What if you're thinking about a future act and you come and talk to the chaplain? Is it confidential? Well, if you have completely confidential counseling, then the answer is yes. So it doesn't matter what you're going through or what you've been through or what your mind is even bringing you to. You can talk to the chaplain and it not go anywhere. And this is important. It's a powerful tool that members of the military have that nowhere else on the planet you're going to get that. So that's what I want you know, if you're a military member, you know that you've been told that you're wrong. And Frances showed the slides early this year about the 2019 suicides. It's incredible. We should have 0, and we could have 0. One of the best reasons why is because you can go to the chaplain. If you think that I can't go to anybody, nobody understands, I can't just tell anybody this sort of thing, you can go to the chaplain and talk about it. And that will give you the strength and the tools and just sometimes the ability just to get it off your chest so that you can start working on that pillar that's broken down, whatever it may be. That's why it's really important that you use the chaplain office for any sort of problems. Or if you're a first sergeant, commander, a spouse, supervisor, whatever it happens to be, is to refer people to the chaplain, because it's not going to go anywhere if that's what it is. Because I tell you what, when somebody comes to me and talks to us about, hey, I've got all of these problems, and one of the issues that I've got is I need money. Well, that's not one of our spiritual issues, but I know how to refer people to the Airman Family Readiness Center and other resources to say, you know, what can they do for you, or the legal office, or whatever it happens to be, is that we have the resources, or we know who the resources are to help fix whatever particular issue you may have. But you may want to start at the chaplain just to be able to get started, unless if you don't know where, sometimes you don't even know what the deal is, but you can talk it out. And so that's why I wanted to encourage leaders and also individuals themselves or spouses to push people towards the chaplain so that they can get the care that they need. You will see other places how we do spiritual care is through worship opportunities, visiting the workplace, and any requests for accommodation of religious issues, and that is a religious practice. And that is, the DoD's policy is that unless it affects good order and discipline, then the accommodation should be approved. And that's one of the things that we do. So anytime that, if anybody that you know has a problem or needs to be, or perhaps would like to speak to the chaplain, have them call the number there on the screen, and that is the command post. And the command post has the 433rd command post has a bridge, and they will call us, and they have. If somebody calls them and says, hey, I need to talk to a chaplain, they look on their list and who's the duty chaplain, and then they will push the call over to us until they get an answer to one of the 4 chaplains. If the first person doesn't answer, so they'll get a call. One of us will get a call. Hopefully the 960th people should go to me. But if you have an immediate, doesn't matter what time of day, because it's a 24-hour number, and there's always somebody there. So anytime anybody's got a problem, call that number. And that number should be in your, I don't want to say your speed dial, but at least in your contacts list. Because anytime that your member has a need, then they can call the command post and have the call directed, or left a message for somebody else to call you back. So it's a powerful tool that we have as chaplains. I think that's the last slide. Is that correct? Yes, it is. So are there any questions from anybody? I don't have my chat up here, so I guess I can do that now. So if anybody has any questions, either speak up or type it out, and we will see what we can do to answer that questions. Anybody?
Chaplain, this is Christy from the 53rd NOS in Colorado Springs.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I foot stomp the chaplain's office all the time. I love 100% confidential.
Right.
And it's so important. But I have had some questions, and I think I know the answer, but the person that we refer to the chaplain's office they do not have to have a religious affiliation, correct?
That's correct. And that's one of the things that I think if we talked about what does spirituality mean? Spirituality is who you are as a person. And it doesn't necessarily have to be religious, where how you approach life, or even denomination doesn't matter within the community that we have. But yes, anything that reflects who you are as a person is yours. By definition, we talk about it as your spirituality. So yes.
Do you know if they're going to bring back the spiritual resiliency back into the master resiliency training at all?
It should be there. I didn't know it was taken out. So that's
it's interwoven, but it's not a separate one by itself. And I think when it was separate, it explains spirituality like you did. It's not always understood, I think. Maybe they've changed it since I took the training. Hopefully they did.
I hope so.
It's important.
Yes, it is. And thank you for that affirmation. Anyone else? I don't see any typing, and I don't hear any questions. So Frances, I guess I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Chaplain. So please welcome Casey Eric. She's the 960th Cyberspace Wing Key Spouse Mentor.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Frances, for including the Key Spouse program as part of this presentation. I'm happy to be here today and be able to talk to everyone about how the Key Spouse program fits in to the suicide prevention program. So Frances discussed at the start of today how many military members have died by suicide. I'm going to pull up another data point for you all, and that's family member suicide rates. So in the National Defense Authorization Act of fiscal year 2015, it was put in there that the DoD is required to collect and account and assess any death that's determined to be a suicide that involves a family member. Unfortunately, no single source provides full accounting of the suicide deaths by military family members because data needs to be collected from several civilian and military resources. They rely heavily on information that's found in DEERS, but again, there's no saying that all of the information that has been gathered is an accurate reflection of all military family members that die by suicide. So the first year that data is available right now is 2017. That's actually the only year. 2018 data has not been reported yet. But in 2017, a total of 186 family members across active, reserve, and guard committed suicide. Of those 186 family members, 123 were military spouses. The majority were female, the majority were under 40 years old, and 17 of those spouses were also military members themselves in a dual military marriage. The other side of that is 63 of that 186 were dependents. They ranged in age between 12 and 23 years old. 70% were male, more than 50% were over 18, and of those younger than 18, 62% were between ages 15 and 17. So that's quite a staggering statistic, and I know I have a good feeling that these numbers are probably underreported just because of what they have to do to attempt to account for them. And I also know, and I'm going to guess based on the fact that the suicide rates this year are up so far with everything that is going on, that again, we will see higher numbers in this area as well. It's estimated that approximately 1 in 4 military spouses are under a significant amount of stress. And just as military members are afraid to seek help because they think it's going to negatively impact their career, many military spouses choose not to seek help because they believe doing so will have a negative impact on their spouse's career, and they don't want to be what affects that. Next slide, please. So what is the Key Spouse Program? The Key Spouse Program, I always start with what the Key Spouse Program is not. It is not a spouses club, and it's also not just for spouses. It's kind of the name's kind of a misnomer. We support anyone that's important to the family member. So if you have a partner, if you're not married and you just have a loved one that's close to you that you know, a brother or a sister or someone that is special and important to you, those are the folks that we want to support. The Key Spouse Program is an official commander's program. It is designed to enhance readiness, personal family resiliency, and establish a sense of community. We promote partnerships with unit leadership. We work very closely since Frances has come. I'm working with her. We work with the Airmen and Family Readiness Center. We have connections to community helping agencies. We're there to support families throughout the entire life cycle. So when the Key Spouse Program was initially developed, its primary emphasis was during deployments, and that was what the focus was. But as the program has evolved, we really do focus on the entire military life cycle. We do place special emphasis on the deployment cycle in times of crisis. So for example, this COVID pandemic has been a great place to utilize the Key Spouse Program to keep in touch with family members and ensure that everyone has access to the resources that they have. As a Key Spouse and as Key Spouse mentors, we are trained. Again, we're commander appointed. We are volunteers, but we are required to undergo training both annually and quarterly. So annually, we go through suicide prevention training, just like the military members do. We go through sexual assault training, and then each quarter there's special topics that they'll have that the Airmen and Family Readiness Center will present that we attend and get additional information that we are able to share and support your families. As part of the comprehensive airman fitness that the chaplain addressed, the Key Spouse Program really fits very nicely under the social pillar. The tenets of the social pillar are communication, connectedness, social support, and the Key Spouse Program provides all of that to your family members. And when we connect with your family members, we provide them a place where they feel like they maybe are our family. I like to tell a story that when we moved to Colorado from Minnesota, we had been in Minnesota for 13 years, and that's where our home was. So it was very hard adjustment moving to Colorado. And my first year there, my husband will attest I was not a happy person. And what I realized finally was that I was lacking that connectedness. And I decided to dig in and get involved with the Key Spouses, and I found that connectedness, and I let everyone know that we're all in this together, and we may not have biological family there with us, but when you're at a unit, we're all family. So I really value the Key Spouse program and the connectedness that it can bring to you and your families. Next slide, please. So how can we get connected? Almost all of the units within the 960th Cyberspace Wing have a Key Spouse. Those that don't, I am very happy to be accessible to your families. If you are a family member and you do not know how to get connected with your unit Key Spouse, you can give me a call or shoot me an email, and I am glad to get you the name of the person and their contact information. You can also contact your local Airmen and Family Readiness centers. We have a 960th Cyberspace Wing Facebook page. I've also started for those that are a little averse on the Facebook as social media, the AF Connect app, we have a private group on there as well. So you're welcome to join us. The connection information is there. And one other thing that you can do, if you are a member, get us your loved one's contact information. Share it with your first sergeant. Share it with your commander. Email it to me and put us in contact with your spouse so we can welcome them to the unit. Unfortunately, we don't always get information when you're headed in, and it's not that I don't want to connect with you, it's that I don't know that you're there, which is unfortunate, because I know all of our Key Spouses would really love to connect with your families. So please take the time and share that information and help us get connected and make that that connection with your families. I think that's all I've got. If anyone has any questions, I'm glad to field them.
Thank you, Casey. So if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat or you can unmute yourself.
Oh, I did forget one thing. So Kristen shared with me that she is holding an event for military spouses, a military spouse resiliency workshop. And it's going to be the end of September. I'm going to post the information. Please share it with your families and get registered so that your spouses can attend that.
Thank you. So finally, we have attached resources for all of you in regards to getting help. Stop Suicide, Save a Life is a civilian EAP counselor network. We have the Be a Hero campaign attached with the national resources located on the bottom. So please print and post that information in your respective buildings or offices. That way everyone has that information readily available to them. We do want to spread awareness that suicide is preventable. We will have a virtual 5K walk run competition beginning tomorrow through the end of the month. So get together with your unit and families to participate in the 5K. Send pictures to me, but make sure you have a sign or a poster in the picture that says Be a Hero, Be There, or Gladiators Saving Gladiators to get credit for your participation. The unit with the highest percentage of participation wins. So I know here at the wing level, we are starting our 5K tomorrow morning at 7:30. So if you're local, please join us at the Chapman Annex track. The Ask a Friend app is a free app through the Jason Foundation. It is geared towards youth, and I recommend families talking about suicide prevention with their teens. It helps inform families of warning signs and getting help. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is also listed there. For those families that are local to San Antonio, here are some available outpatient therapy resources, San Antonio Counseling, Sage Social Services, and Endeavors. You can also find available resources through Military One Source as well. San Antonio Behavioral has higher levels of care that include intensive outpatient, partial hospitalization, and inpatient services. They do have a military unit for both mental health and substance use. If you are active duty or are currently on active orders, you must go through your MTF mental health first for the referral. All dependents can seek help without going through the mental health clinic, and you do not need a referral from your PCM, so you can just walk right in. I've attached local military resources to all of the units nationwide. If you need further assistance, please let me know and I'll be able to assist you. So we have Travis information, and most of the information I pulled off their website, so some of it is limited, but I tried to get in as much as I could from each installation. And these slides will be available to everyone on our SharePoint. So this concludes our suicide awareness and prevention event. Thank you all for your attendance, and I hope we have provided you with the tools to be a hero. So I hope everyone has a great day, and thank you again for attending.